This is the science of happiness, okay? And everybody keeps wondering why the science of happiness. And one thing that I offer to everybody who do my workshops, okay, is that it in happiness has to be lifetime. So therefore, I offer a lifetime warranty on my happiness. So the rest of your life, okay, whenever you want to come about and ask me, you spoke about this, and I want to just quiz your brains, I'll be absolutely happy to answer any of your queries, right? Right? Put your hand up if you're telling your son and daughters, whatever, to study hard. Okay, and why is that? Because the belief is if we study hard, we'll get good marks. You get good marks, get into a good college, get into a good college, get a good job, get a good job, get a good spouse, get a good spouse, and you'll be finally happy, right? And therefore, what happens is that journey keeps continuing. And the science, okay, and unfortunately in India, okay, all our monies are going up, everything is going up in the country, right? But the happiness in the country in the last 6 years has been dropping consistently. Okay, we were already 144th in the world, giving a tough fight to countries like Afghanistan. I wonder what situations like COVID would have done for us in this year. Right? So we can see that already taking place here. Okay, and when the evidence that you need when you're unhappy is all you have to do is Google why am I, and you'll find some really funny stuff coming up about why am I. Okay, half the people want to get married, half the people are wondering why they're dizzy, half the people are not being able to sleep. Okay, so funny things we are searching online. Those contribute to so if you look at, obviously, our genetics we can't control, the day we were conceived, and that's it, that's our genetic makeup, right? But 80% of what we can control is our thoughts, feelings, and actions, right? So that tells you that we can that our happiness is pretty much in our actions, right? And then there is research done on jackpot winners, because people who are about to win millions of dollars, they were asked, would you be happy winning hundreds of millions of dollars in the jackpot? They said, of course I will. And then they were asked, okay, how long do you think this happiness will last? Okay, they said, what, millions of dollars, and I'm not a very rich man. I'm going to be happy for the rest of my life. And guess what? 9 months later, okay, after winning hundreds of millions of dollars in the jackpot, 9 months later, their happiness went back to before winning the lottery. And even in happiness, what they find is that happiness does increase it. Okay, but if you see that, and we call that, so the day you decide to get married, you find a partner for yourself, the happiness starts going up, right? And it reaches the peak on the day of that marriage, okay, which is there. Okay? And then if you see post that, happiness starts dropping again. And if you see the end result after 3 to 4 years is only a difference between 4.9 to 5.1. That's the only difference on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, that after all that effort, marriage contributed only that much. Okay, but of course, the interesting news is, so like I said, positive people, they found, tended to get married faster. And interestingly, what they also found is that if they got divorced, they were more likely to find a partner again. So somebody said, wait a minute, are you saying positive people make the same mistake twice? I said, no, that's not the interpretation. Okay. See, some people also will find the problem there. Okay. Right. And, again, mind-boggling research, because people talk about this year being the toughest year. And I'm looking around and I say, wait a minute, you don't know half the science. Let me tell you. So, for example, there was research done on patients who had just undergone a diagnosis, and they were about to be told that both their legs are going to be amputated. Both their legs are going to be amputated. And they asked them, if we give you this news, how unhappy will you be? They said, obviously we'll be unhappy. How unhappy will you be? How long will you be unhappy? And they said, we're going to be unhappy for the rest of our lives. And they found that, yes, their unhappiness dropped, but 9 months later, their happiness had come back to normal. So imagine losing your legs for the rest of your life. Losing your legs did not impact happiness at the long term to that extent. Okay? So that's a mind-boggling research. And we find the same thing, for example, when it comes to even cancer, right? When the patients, they were asked that if you're given a diagnosis of cancer, will you be happy, unhappy? And they said, of course, I'll be unhappy for the rest of my life. Do you know cancer patients in your families, etc., even when they were diagnosed with cancer, but they really fought hard and bounced back, right? You must have seen a lot of people from that, right? So that's exactly the science. Okay? And the final science I'm going to talk to you about is the Framingham studies. Okay, the Framingham studies, what they found is, if you are happy, there's a chance that you'll spend 35, you will spread 35% of that happiness. Ouch, my tablet fell there. Give me a second. Sorry, I got my tablet back. Okay. What they found is that 35% of your happiness you spread to the first degree. And then you spread to your friend's friend, you spend, there's a 24% chance that your friend's friends will be happy. And there's a 14% chance that your friends will be happy. So imagine happiness was infectious up to 3 degrees. And not only happiness, what we find is depression, obesity, smoking, all of these are actually infectious. Okay, that we impact them right up till 3 degrees there. Okay, and therefore, how do positive people differ, and what is the benefit for them? So, first of all, positive people are more curious, they take more risks, they take more action, right? Second is they have better relationships and they're 2.5 times more likely to help others and inspire others, right? Interestingly, what we find is that, sorry, where's it gone? Yeah. What we find is happy people 20 years later, when they were contacted and they were tracked for 20 years, what they found is happy people had 30% higher salaries. Happy people after college, or people who were happy in college, 20 years later had 30% higher salaries. So imagine just your happiness impacts your salary. And of course, there's a 30% more chance if you show the trait of humility, right? I won't cover that. So therefore, the idea being that happy people take action and they get benefit back from that, right? And therefore, the key is, can you increase happiness? Okay. But the problem is that we focus every single day on the left side, on all our firefighting and all solving problems. And by the way, I've been doing this studies and I've been researching this right since 2014. And ever since I've been asking that question, how much time do you spend firefighting? And just reflect on yourself. How much time do you spend firefighting every day? Even pre-COVID, and I promise you, the day you get your vaccine, and 30 days after the vaccine is effective in your bodies, you will still remain focusing there on the unhappy parts of your life. And why is that? You just want to pull the curtain back there for a moment. And the reason is that when we lived in caves, okay, and we saw a saber-toothed tiger, our instinct was to run from that scene. It was to flee. Okay, and this is what developed the amygdala, and I call the amygdala like the bouncer in a nightclub. Okay, and the role of the amygdala in the brain is just to constantly scan the environment for danger, right? Like how in exactly nightclub, the bouncer is just standing, looking tough, big, and mean there. Okay, so the amygdala is just scanning the brain and asking only one question: am I safe? Okay. And the moment that question comes that no, I'm not, it could be that you're feeling unappreciated. Okay. Or maybe somebody is not taking credit. For example, Sachita, if I tell you, a painting is horrible. Okay, you will go into a state of shock, right? Like, tell me why is it horrible, right? Even though it's a beautiful painting and I want to play a prank on you, right? Because that's what the amygdala does. It creates that reaction right away, right? Okay, and we call that an amygdala hijack, okay, because it leads to what we call a brain freeze. Okay? And I won't cover much of that, but happiness is not just about smiling, even though we saw the Make a Smile Foundation and it's very important, okay, but it's not just about smiling or ignoring the negative parts of our life. Okay, what we say is happiness is just recognizing that maybe something is wrong and we can take action to increase our happiness levels. Okay, and if you just look at yesterday, okay, at any point of time, if you felt unhappy, okay, you would have noticed either you were hungry, okay, or you must have just come out of an angry bout, like Tanuja just talked about, fighting with a child, okay, or maybe you're just feeling lonely because COVID has separated all of us, or maybe it's just after 9 months, March 18th was the first lockdown in Mumbai. Okay, so we are exactly 9 months later. We are just tired and overwhelmed, right, at it. So therefore, we call this HALT. Okay, the HALT paradigm of happiness: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Okay, and therefore the flip side around is what we call the flip. Okay, if you're hungry, feed yourself. Just go take a little fruit, a healthy snack. And the biggest sign that your body tells you, and I'll cover that in a bit. Okay, or it's about bringing the locus of control back. Your mind is going all over the place. It could be maybe just including some friends of yours into the circle, or it could be pausing and just bringing some play and purpose back into your life. right? And then you might be wondering, okay, so okay, I've understood this happiness, but in these times of crisis, how can I expect? So, but before that, just do a little check for yourselves, okay? And just give a tick for yourself every time you say, yeah, I experienced this. Yeah, I experienced this. Yes, I experienced this. Okay. And the first one that we put there is sleeping. Okay. If in the COVID era, you have started sleeping for less than 7 hours, okay, or even if before COVID you were sleeping for 7 hours, less than 7 hours, okay, that's a sign that your body is telling you that there is a problem. Okay. So if you could tell us on chat, how many of these did you experience? There may be 40 or 50 of these. How many on these did you experience? So when I started off, that Santa's coming with a nasty surprise. And therefore, it's very important that in the next 10 days, we change our mindsets there and bring a big warm welcome. I just want to rewind to that because, hopefully the presents that we get from now on will be positive. Okay. Because if you've been through the toughest phase of our life, you will look back upon this life and always compare it to 2020, and you will say, is it tougher than 2020? No. Chalo, move on.